Clawhammer, Mike Sawyer, and the Upper Midwest Folk Fiddle Tunes, Volume 1. Take it away, Clawhammer.
Hey, thanks everybody. Thank you, Mary Pat, for putting this on. Minnesota State Fiddle Association for putting this on. A great group that you should definitely give money to when you get a chance, whether it's give to the Matt's Day or whatever. The MSFA does great work on helping promote the old fiddlers from the region and also the new fiddlers from the region too. Just all kinds of great fiddle music. So I'm happy that our forces are joining together today to do this presentation. And I know there's some of you who know me well, and there's some of you who don't know me at all. So I thought I better start with some origin stories. All the people who know me can just plug their ears for a little while. But this journey for me, I grew up, as I like to say, I grew up on bluegrass and old time music. And I didn't grow up on this upper Midwest music, but I was always real curious about it as I was growing up. So to cut to the story, when I got serious about it was about 2011, when I really, this curiosity of knowing what was the old fiddle music from my home state really started getting the better of me. And the problem was when I was asking around about it, I really just hit a bunch of dead ends as far as the people in my community. I remember being at the Bluegrass festival up near St. Cloud and asking all the old timers up there, well, I know you guys play Appalachian stuff. We all play Appalachian stuff, but what was the music from my home state? And nobody really had an answer. They gave me some leads about where to go, and I kind of knew about Art Bjornjeld, and I kind of knew about various things. I knew about the Minnesota Scandinavian Ensemble, and so this led to me sitting here and now kind of a little bit more versed in all of these different different forms of upper Midwest fiddle music that's gone on all these years. Tried to put a decent amount of time and decent amount of research into it, so that I can share it with the peoples, and maybe we can rebirth this thing. Because one of the things I figured out quick is that the old style of upper Midwest fiddling that you could really find a lot of in, whether it was the 30s, the 50s, the 70s, whatever of the 1900s, is kind of depleted or mostly disappeared. The old timers are gone. The newest generations, for whatever reason, never picked it up. And so I know I'm jumping through the history, but I really tried to focus. When I first started, I just was kind of saying, hey, what's out there, and I was collecting all the different recordings and all the different sheet musics and stuff of the upper Midwest and just asking what's out there. That eventually led to getting my friends together to try and learn the music of this region. And although it's kind of a mixed bag, we put out this first CD of 52 of my friends called, you guys have probably seen it, called the Minnesota Fiddle Tunes Project, and that has a bunch of my friends playing this music. And then after that, I decided to start a band, and I thought the band was the way to go. So I started this band, and we concentrated on one fiddler. And this gets me outside of Minnesota to neighboring Wisconsin to really study the music of Leonard Finseth. And this was our second CD that we did. But then I realized that it's like this music is so broken up and broken apart that it doesn't just I can't just do a band, and do that. A lot of musicians just get a band going and they go with their band. And I felt like it needed to be more of a community revival than that, that these tunes, that my work really needed to be about getting more of these tunes into the hands of people and creating repertoire with people. So somewhere along this way, maybe 5-6 years ago, I decided to start the Upper Midwest Folk Fiddlers, which you're going to see today in the video. I'm not actually in the videos today because I felt like I had to video the thing, actually do the work of videoing, but I'm there in spirit. And the group does a great job today on all the recordings that we're going to have. I really feel like people put in the time in this group and really got the essence of the music pretty much down. So that's what you're going to see today. And this Upper Midwest Folk Fiddlers, we've been meeting every week for well, we started 5 years ago. We met for a couple of years, and then COVID started, and then I wasn't sure we were going to make it out of COVID, but it ended up that we were able to get people back together and excited, and now we got a big group again. So that's kind of in the nutshell my history, along with a few other things. I got a grant to do a project about a fiddler from Northwest Minnesota called Hillary Stoltman and his family. And I really like the old fiddler stories. This was a group of family fiddlers, who were a great Minnesota story in the sense that they were Polish, but they learned from Norwegian fiddlers at a young age, and then became best friends with Canadian Native American fiddler who a lot of folks know, named I'm spacing on his name right now. Mary Pat, can you help me?
Andy was it Andy DeJarlis?
Andy DeJarlis, thank you. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yeah.
how can I space on his name? But anyways, I just thought, yeah, this is a real Upper Midwest story here. People of Polish descent who are playing Norwegian music and then mixing it with Native American Canadian music also. So really, I just like digging into all these old characters, stories, tunes, and whatever. So does anybody have any question about that? I know that's kind of my history in a nutshell. I want to keep it short. Does anybody have any questions about that to start off? You can unmute yourself or raise your hand for Mary Pat to unmute you. I don't exactly know how that works, but anybody? Nothing? Too early? Too early for questions? All right. Well, let's just jump into it, I think. If nobody else has questions. This book, as we say, is kind of like the I just like transcribing tunes, right? So anytime I have a fiddler who I think is important to the tradition, I transcribe tunes, and then I just wanted to make sure that we had a document that all of us could play from. So these tunes are all in the simple keys of A, D, and G to make sure that we all can jam on them, and diatonic players can play along, banjo players can play along if they want to, and we tend to sit in a key. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do it like we do at my gathering that's weekly in St. Paul. We're going to sit in a key of G, and we're gonna play some tunes if this video works right, hopefully. So I trust Mary Pat that she's got it for sure. So this first one we're gonna start off with is Ed Quall's Polka, and it's G2 in the book. All the tunes in the book are numbered because, as many of you know, the names for Upper Midwest tunes is very confusing because they don't actually have names. They're usually named after the fiddler you learn the tune from, which you can imagine if Ed Quall has 20 different polkas, you can imagine how hard this might be to actually remember tunes and stuff like that. So in our book, they have an arbitrary numbered system. So this is G2 in the book. Like I say, you can find this book at clawhammermike.com. It's a silly place to have it right now, but that's where I have it. And it's called what's it called? I can't remember my own book's called. Tunes from the Upper Midwest Folk Fiddlers. I think it's called Upper Midwest Folk Fiddlers Volume Number 1 is what I think we call it. So anyways, this is G2, and this is Ed Quall's polka. There was an Ed Quall's polka that got exported to the rest of the country on the Smithsonian's label Deep Polka record, but really that is a different polka than this one. As I was saying, there's so many Ed Quall's polka, but this is one of them, and this is G2. So
Yep. Okay. So next is Canadian shot.
Okay, this is G4 Canadian Schottish. We don't know whether this was came over by the radio or whether Leonard picked it up from a fiddler. I know he liked to go up to north to the northern section of Wisconsin, and he sometimes went to Canada too to play with Canadian fiddlers. So we don't know if he picked this one up in person or not, but it's a great little Schottish. So. Calls out that it's an old time Schottish. Schottish and Rhinelanders, of course, in our neck of the woods is the same thing. One's from Rhinelanders from Norway and a Schottish is from Sweden, but we kind of treat them interchangeably as they are mostly interchangeable besides tempo and a little bit of the dancing depending on where you are. Anyways, back home in Norway, in Sweden, but here we just dance a Schottish to these tunes. So this is one I really like. It just has a lot of lilt to it, which is why I really like this one. And this one's G6, if you can cue this one up, Mary Pat. Cool. So that was G6, and next up we got G7, and this comes from the playing of Ingvald Syverson, who this actually made it onto one of Finseth's albums called I can't remember what the album's called, but one of his two
Was
albums
that
that
Hills of Old Wisconsin?
thank you, Hills of Old
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin. Yes, it was. And involved all these cats who lived in this area that Finseth lived in, which is just north of Eau Claire there. It has rolling hills because it's the end of the what's the area of the hills that is in southwest Minnesota? And
The Driftless area. Yep. Oh, I muted you. Doggone it. I accidentally muted you, Mike. Sorry. I was trying to unmute myself and I clicked the wrong one.
Yes,
sorry
the
about that.
the driftless region. So yeah, so I guess why they settled there, all these folks from the middle of Norway, is because it had hills that were a lot like the region is one of the regions why all these folks settled in this one area of mostly Wisconsin right there in the driftless region. And so there was plenty of different back in the early 1900s. There was like more fiddlers from Norway than you could shake a stick at least descendants of fiddlers from Norway, and they had quite a rich reputation. So one of Finseth's neighbors was this Ingvald Syverson character, and he was one of the ones who taught Finseth to play so many tunes, along with his uncle Ed Quall. So yeah, I guess that's all I want to say about that from now. And we'll play G7 here, which is a lovely waltz called Syverson's Waltz. Cool. Any questions yet from anybody? Keep rolling on here.
So, Scandium Jam, Beth Brado taught us a similar version of that. Slightly different, but I was playing the version we did along with the recording, and it's really, really, really close.
Real close. Well, I'm sure it's just a matter of what somebody hears versus what somebody else hears.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Just a little bit of folk, but not as much folk processing as a lot of tunes go through. So that one, the integrity seemed to have stayed.
I should say also that some of these waltzes are more like mazurkas in their lilt factor, as far as just putting a little bit more lilt in, and that one we're us as Upper Midwest folk fiddlers are working on getting the lilt back into some of these waltzes. So we had a little bit of lilt in that one, and it's always good to put more lilt, as we like to say in our group. So now we're going to move on to G number 9, and we ended up finding out this is Haugen. Mr. Haugen was a fiddler from the early 1900s, who, because this group called the Erskine Old Timers, who are up in northwest Minnesota. Erskine is like a blip on the map. You could blow through it if you drove for 2 minutes. And there's really nobody up there these days, but back in the day there was this great band called the Erskine Old Timers, and when Phil Nussbaum recorded them in the early 80s, they were all 80 years old, except for the young piano player who they had accompanying them. So they learned from dudes who were, from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, fiddlers from there. And I guess one of these is this Haugen fellow who knew this Schottisch. And it ends up that this Schottisch, some of our music, we don't know whether it goes back to the old country, and I don't really care about that. Somebody else can care about that, actually tracing stuff back to the old country and seeing if these tunes are, actually from Ireland or from Norway or from Scotland or from Finland, any of that stuff. But I do like asking every once in a while, and we found out that this was an old Christmas tune from Norway. So they do play this one back in the old country. A lot of these tunes, it's like they came over here. They're made by people over here, so they could have been remnants from tunes they heard in the old country, or they could just be stuff from the top of their head that they sounds like stuff. A lot of the stuff we'll never know whether they're original tunes or whether they go back, but some of them we do, like this one. So Mary Pat, you can gear up G9. Great. Any questions about that one or anything yet?
I like that one
We're
a
good.
lot.
Yeah, it's fun, bouncy little tune, huh?
That's a
Sure.
really cool. I can just like really picture that being one that the dancers would really enjoy. I don't know. Somehow I can just kind of in my head think that would be an awesome pick for a dance tune. So, anyway.
Our
Yeah.
band played that with words. When Jim was here, he sang words to it, and the words were, it's called Pin Spin Shin, Pin Spin Shin. It was like the hedgehog hide, which the lazy husband's wife sewed them with the prickles in so he couldn't sit down.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to add that tune list to our Scandium Jam. It's right with that kind of story, man. We
Yeah, whenever you want
gotta
somebody to
add
look
it.
up what a tune is, Beth is the one to find it. So,
That's a great story.
um okay, so next we're moving on to any other questions? Sorry, that was one thing. Any other questions? We're good so far? Next, we're going to move on to this G14, which was a common tune up in northern Minnesota. And some people know it as Minnesota Waltz. And I guess Mary Pat is excited to hear that other folks play this one besides Elmo. And this was actually in the Leroy Larson collection when Leroy back in the day did his thesis at the University of Minnesota. What he basically did was he went up north and he recorded all of his family and friends up north before they all died from the 50s to the 70s. And then he compiled them all, and he kind of did what I did, where he went through and transcribed them. And one of the tunes was this Minnesota Waltz, and this also for me comes from the Erskine old timers, but a lot of different folks played it up in northern Minnesota, and it comes from that Leroy Larson collection, which I believe his dissertation was called something paraphrasing like Scandinavian music, or maybe Norwegian American music of fiddlers from Minnesota or something like that. But it's not like an available thing. It's just his thesis paper. But then Leroy, of course, went on to form the Minnesota Scandinavian Ensemble, and they put out many good books of just tunes that you can still find to this day. I think volumes 1 through 3 that a lot of folks have. So anyways, this is this that we call in the book Erskine Old Timers Waltz, but of course also Minnesota Waltz is another name for it. So. I should mention,
beautiful.
yeah, that's a lovely waltz, huh? I should mention that that group there of Upper Midwest folk fiddlers. This was a small group because we wanted to have a small group together to put together these tunes. But it does have some of our core individuals in there, and I'd be remiss in not mentioning some of their names. Some of them don't want to be named, but I'll mention some of their names. Rachel and Carrie our fiddle and guitar player, and they're two of our rots of our group. They take stuff home, they work on it, they sort it out. Rachel leads our group jams, and they're great. And then of course my mom's playing bass over there on the right of your screen, and she she's been very supportive of me of getting back into this music and doing all this kind of stuff. And then of course we have Eric Platt on mandolin back there, who's really the last 6 or 7 years really taking it just a great interest in all kinds of this music. He plays with the Finnish Folks and in Finn Hall, and their spin-off groups that they have, the various different Finnish spin-off groups. And then in the back row is Sharon, and Sharon's a great supporter of this music too. Those are the people who I know want to be named, so I'm gonna name them. And then of course we have a roving cast of 20 to 30 people. And if you're in the Twin Cities, come play with us. We meet every Tuesday at Edgecombe Park in St. Paul. And also join our page, which is the Upper Midwest Folk Fiddlers on Facebook, because that'll tell you if, oh, there's ice on the roads and we're not getting together this week or whatever. So I try to, with this group, really instill that like any level of beginners, advanced, whatever, any level, everybody's welcome, and we try to create a really welcoming atmosphere, which I think has really been a good thing. As some of my like Appalachian jams, it's really hard to go and make friends and stuff like that, and we try to keep a really open group. So if any of you are ever in the Twin Cities, Tuesday night from 6 to 7:30 at Edgecombe Rec Center in St. Paul is where you'll see a jam very much like this, because we were at the Edgecombe Rec Center last week when we recorded this. So moving on to Ralph Gullingsrud's tune. From what I know of Ralph, he was a real character. He Leonard Finseth's nephew, Larry Finseth, is my buddy, and we hang out a bunch, and he likes talking about Ralph. He thinks Ralph is the old school fiddler. Ralph did the same thing that I do, plays on his shoulder, plays below his shoulder on his chest, and you would almost think he was a Kentucky fiddler the way he goes at it, but he's long gone, but we have video of him playing with Larry, and we also have audio from him, and he's just a great old-time fiddler, and supposedly a real character that always cracking jokes and always making light of everything. So this is a good tune that he has. I haven't heard from any other fiddler in the area, and I don't really know where it comes from. Hard to know, because it's just one dude playing his tune. So Gullingsrud's Polka, we're calling this one here. what else did I want to say? Oh, I want to say, yeah, like you can tell from that version and stuff here, we try to take, we're a learners group, we do play shows, we play dances and stuff like that. Like once or twice a year we end up playing dances, but really we're a learners group, so that's why most of these tunes are slowed down for you all. We play them at a moderate pace, not that like wasn't at the rip roaring polka tempo that it normally would be at or nothing. So I think to finish up here, we're going to do a tune from our living legend here, Dwight Lamb, which we're always really excited to play Dwight Lamb tune. Dwight Lamb learned Danish tunes from his grandfather, and now he lives in Iowa. And he's still, even though don't ask me his age, he's somewhere in the 80s, and he's Dwight, for those who don't know, is just an awesome Missouri Valley fiddler playing those really fast, just Missouri reels at 100 miles an hour. He's really good at that. And then he's also really good at playing this Danish one-row button bots. And so we included, with the permission of Dwight and his manager, Bill Peterson, we included some of Dwight tunes in the collection. And I don't know, you can't hear a Dwight Danish button bots tune without just getting happy, or at least me. It just always makes me happy. So this is Tomorrow I Shall Wed, But Who Shall It Be, which is a great name in itself. So here we go, playing Dwight Lamb's song. Does anybody else have any final comments, questions, concerns for me? I'd love to hear some feedback. Yeah. Thumbs up. You can turn yourself off mute if you want to.
Yeah, you guys could unmute. But so, Brendan, did you have anything?
Oh, I just think it's a great collection. I'm really excited. I printed it off. It's really fun to flip through. And yeah, I mean, I'm playing the banjo, so it's fun to practice it on this instrument, a mixture of rhythm and notes. And yeah, it's just really fun to play along with. And I look forward to the next one.
Yeah.
Great. As far as the banjo goes, I did play a lot of these tunes on banjo, but the schottisches I find just to be the most difficult. Getting the lilt to, at least clawhammer wise, I don't know if you're playing clawhammer. I'm sorry, I didn't see, but clawhammer wise, it's difficult to get the lilt of the schottisches. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to play the rest of the stuff on banjo. So if I'm just telling you, if you struggle with the lilt of the schottisch, you're not alone. So. All right.
Cool.
Nice to do double thumbing on the schottisches and then claw on the polkas, I think. Anyway, that's great. Great collection, great tunes today. Really good.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Double thumbing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Then you can vary the rhythm easier, I think.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. I agree. Yep. Anybody else got anything?
It was very fun. Yeah.
Fun tunes. Thank you so much. And we'll be back again in February because, as Mike said, he kind of goes through in keys. So we did a whole bunch of G stuff. And so do you know what key we'll be in next time? Have you decided?
No, but I'll ask, what do you guys want? Do you want the key of A or the key of D next time?
A.
A. Okay, A it is.
All right, we'll be in key
Beth
of A,
says so. It shall be.
That's right. Yes, the queen of all things upper middle.
Yep.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
You can see a real pro do her work when it's time for her in April or whenever it is.
That's right. Yeah. So
yeah.
So that'll be great. So we'll be in the key of A in February.